Okay, if all I was going to do is show you stock round 2, this would go very quickly because you'd see we're in a stock round, which means you have an opportunity to buy shares from the IPO. There are no shares in the bank pool, meaning even though the stocks are set at this value, you have to pay this value for them because the values here determines the price here. And something I just want to point out is if somebody had the money to buy B&O Railroad, they would be paying $95 for it, but notice it's only worth $85 right now. So if you were to buy stock from the stock market here, for any companies that have started, you would be paying more for it than it's worth because all those stocks lost value. Additionally, player 1 only has $40, which they can't afford anything. Player 2 has $30, which means they can't afford anything. Player 3 has $40, they can't afford anything. Player 4 has $15, they can't afford anything. So since player 3 was left with a priority deal, it would just go, do you want to do any stock actions? He would say, I pass. And then so then it would go to player 4. Do you want to do any stock actions? Pass. Player 1, he doesn't have any money to buy anything. Pass. Player 2 doesn't have any money to do anything. Pass. No 3 trains have been bought yet. They are available to be purchased, but none have been bought. So since everybody passed, player 2 is the last person to pass, meaning player 3 would maintain the priority deal. Since no 3 trains were bought, we're going to go into the next operating round. It asks, are all sold? Or is there any company that saw all their stocks? No, there is not. So then we would just go into the next operating round, and that would be it. So since that took me 2 minutes to tell you, I am instead going to talk about some other things here. One of the things to consider is if one of these 3 trains had been purchased, whether it's because of that export feature of the game or a player actually purchased it, that would mean that we would be going into the green phase, which means there would be 1, 2 operating rounds and then a stock round. So what that would mean is, let's say I wanted to buy a share of the B&O, which is at $95. Now it costs $95, but it's only worth $85. If we were going into the green phase, that means there would be 1 operating round, 2 operating rounds, and then stock round. If there were 2 operating rounds, and if the B&O ran its train both times and chose to pay out to the stock players, this stock market would go up 1 spot for the first round where it paid out. And so it'd be like this. It would pay out. All the other companies would run. We go into OR, the next OR. It would run its trains, pay out, and it would go up to $105. And then we would go into a stock round. So even if I had purchased this B&O share at $95 during this stock round, and it was worth only $85 when I paid for it, meaning I overpaid for it, by the time we got back to the next stock round, it would be worth $105, meaning I would have made $10 on my purchase by the time we got next to the stock round. And then if I wanted to, I could sell it and get my $105, and then I would have made $10 profit on that round, even though initially I paid only $85 for it. However, since we are going to be only having 1 operating round, if I were to purchase B&O for $95, it would only be worth $85. The company would run its trains, ideally, hopefully pay out its shareholders. If it did, it would go up to $95, and then it would go back into the stock round, meaning I paid $95 for something, $95 for something that was only worth $85, and we come into the stock round, and it's now worth what I paid for it. So maybe I wouldn't want to have bought it at that price, but maybe I would have what if there was only 1 B&O share left? So what if it was at the $85 price and it cost $95 to get it, and there was only 1 left? I'm paying $95 for something that's only worth $85. But remember, if the company sells out of shares, meaning there's no shares left in the IPO and there's no shares left in the bank pool, remember that causes the stock value to go up 1 on the chart, meaning it would, at the end of the stock round, when it asks that question, hey, is there a company that has all of the stocks sold out? It's in all players' hands? Well, then the answer for B&O would have been yes, meaning it would have gone from $85 to $95. Then the company would have gone through an operating round and paid out its shareholders, meaning if it paid out, it would have gone up, and then we would go into the next stock round. And the stock that I paid $95 for, that was only worth $85 when I bought it, meaning I would have lost $10. Because it was sold out, it went up. And because it ran trains and paid out, it went over, meaning I made $5 profit off of it. So that is one reason you go, hey, I'm paying, more for it than it's worth, but by the time we come to the next stock round, it's going to be worth more than I paid for it. So that is one thing that you can consider. Something else to think about is player 2 has a share of the B&O Railroad. Now, remember, they paid $105 for it because they put their token on this, so they cost $100 for the share plus 5. So they paid $105 for this, and it's currently only worth $85. But let's say we were in a situation, right, where they're the green railroad and they have a share of the blue railroad. So let's say, this is probably not going to be at this point in the game, but later in the game, but let's just say, for the sake of this, let's just say that we had something where this was like this, and then this came down like this, and this came like this, and this came like this. All right, let's say this was the setup during the stock round, and you have the green player who wants to get into Washington, D.C., and you have the blue player that wants to get into Washington, D.C. So let's say it's at some point later in the game, and let's say our stock market looks like this. Now remember, the stock market goes in order of operations. That is, whoever has the highest stock value goes first. So this blue would go first, green would go second, black would go third, red would go fourth. So if blue is going to go first, that means blue is going to build first, meaning blue could place this tile like that and block out green. Green doesn't want that to happen. What green could do is take that one share of B&O that they own and sell it to the bank pool. So they would put it here. The green player would get $110 of cash. This, because the share was sold, would fall down one step. And it always goes, if there's another marker here, it always goes below that marker. So now, what we have is green goes first, blue goes second, then third and fourth. What selling that share did was change turn order. And now green will operate before blue, meaning green could place this like that and block out blue. So that is something you can do in the stock market. Not only did he devalue the shares of the blue company, but he used the selling feature to manipulate turn order to his advantage. Right? That's something that can be done with that as well. I'm going to show you something else that you could consider doing for different reasons, not necessarily the one I'm about to show you, but this is just an example. So let's say we're in a stock round, right? And the green company has 120, 40, 60, so they have $170 and they have a 2 train, all right? Now, green, based on our example, built this track, right? So they have a 2 train, so they can run from here to here, but they want to be able to run from here to here to here, which would require a 3 train because it has 1, 2, 3 stops. but it's only able to do this. So it needs to buy a 3 train, but a 3 train costs $180, but the company only has $170. They can't afford this train. So we're in a stock round. So something it could do if it wanted to was, they have, these shares of the company, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shares of the company. If they wanted to, they could sell 4 of these shares to the bank. So these would go up here. Now, it would cause the stock to drop 4 spaces, but since it's at a ledge, it can't go down anymore, right? So even though they sold the stock, it's not going to affect the stock price because it can't go down anymore. If it had been up here, it would have gone down 1, 2 spaces and then stopped, even though they sold 4 shares. So what this means is, since there are shares in the bank pool, whenever the company pays out dividends, the money that these shares would earn, instead of going to a player, are going to go to the company. Here you have the run it's going to make. It's going to run from here to here for $20, $40, which means it's going to pay out $4 a share. So since there are 4 shares in the bank pool, that means the company is going to get 16 of those dollars, which means the player would get $4 per share. So they own 2 shares, so they would get, $8. So 5, 6, 7, 8. But the company would get 4 times 4, which is 16. They would get 5, 10, 15, $16. And now they have $120, $40, $60, $70, $180 now. They can now, when it gets into the operating round, use this $180 to buy that 3 train and add it to their, charter, put on their charter to show that they now have a 3 train. And so they were able to sell stock so that this company would earn money. The money would be paid into the company. And then that allowed them to buy a 3 train. That's something you can consider doing if you want. Another thing to think about with that selling of the 4 shares into the bank pool, that would have got the green player in their personal cash $95 per share, which would be $380 per share. They could, now that they have that $380, they could use that money if they wanted to start one of these other companies that hasn't started yet, right? They could try and use it to start this company or this company or this company or this company. The cheapest amount is $70 a share. Yeah, okay, so they would have got, I think it said $380 for that sale. Let's see, $180. Yeah, $380 for that sale. To start a company, if you were going to float it all yourself, the cheapest would be $70 a share, which would be $420. So if they got $380 from that sale, and if they happen to have $40 of cash on hand through these, payouts, dividend payouts, they could actually use that money not only to have this pay to their company so that they could buy that 3 train, but then they would also be able to start another company. And if they spent the $420 to start this company, remember, it would get 10 times the par value. So for $420, they would get $700 into the treasury of this company. So that's something else they could do. And then they would be running 2 companies. They could be running the green company, and they could be running, whichever one they chose to start as well. So let's say that happened. Let's say they chose to start the orange company, right? So we've seen what happens when a company starts, it doesn't have any trains and it falls backwards, and then they have to buy a train. So right now we see that the trains that are available are the 3 trains, and it's going to cost the orange company $180 to buy a train if they wants to buy a train from the bank. However, something else you could do is buy a train from another company, and you can pay whatever you want as long as the owners of the companies agree upon the price, as long as it's at least $1. Well, you, the player, are the owner of this company, and you, the player, are the owner of this company, and this company has a 3 train and a 2 train. Right now, the green company doesn't need a 2 train because it only has this one route that requires a 3 train. So what it could do, instead of paying $180 to put a 3 train into this company that they just bought, they could, this is going to have a treasury of, whatever, $700. They could take, if they wanted to, one of those dollars and give it to this company in exchange for this 2 train. And now they have a train and they only paid $1 for it. Or this company has now $700 in it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, let's say this company spent their money and this is all they have left after buying that 3 train. This company could pay this whatever it wants. So this company could buy the 2 train for, well, if we look over here, we see 4 trains are going to eventually be $300. So it could actually give $300 to that company so that when the 4 trains become available, it could pay this $300 to buy a 4 train. This company still has $400 left in it, and it's just running on this 2 train until the 4 trains become available. They'll spend $300 and they'll have a 4 train in there as well. So that's some of the different types of things you can do if you own more than one company. You can move money around between them through the sale of trains, and you kind of, by starting this company, it gives you a cash influx which you can use to give to this company so they can buy trains. Now this is stuff you're probably not even going to be doing on your first game, or you wouldn't think about it maybe typically, and that's why people say, oh, you should play these games with people who know how to play them, because then you kind of see the different types of things they do. But since somebody asked me to kind of walk you through this, I'm just trying to show you that right now. All right, so like I said before, so basically what happened if we were playing this out the way I was showing you without showing all the other little things you could do, we looked at it where player 3 only had $40, and so they passed. Player 4 only had $15, they passed. Player 1 had $40, they passed. Player 2 had $30, they passed. Meaning everybody passed in a row. Player 2 is the last to pass. Player 3 maintains priority deal. So we're going to leave the stock round. We're going to cross over this asking, hey, is there any company that's all sold out, all the shares being in players' hands and none in the bank pool and none in the IPO? No, that's not the case. So now we have to determine, are we going into operating round yellow, green, or brown? Well, nobody has bought any 3 trains yet, which would allow us to go into the green phase. So since only 2 trains have been purchased, we're going to go into operating round 2 now, with 1 operating round before going into a stock round again.